Alternative Facts Chicago.
Chicago's #1 podcast.
Chicago. The city of Chicago. Alternative Facts Chicago.
Chicago's #1 podcast.
Audio file.
The city of Chicago. Fresh off an amazing live podcast this past week in Chicago at SafeHouse. This is episode 80 of Alternative Facts Chicago. We got B.Hun here.
And Cait.
Now she gets to introduce herself. It only took, 15, 20 episodes or what?
Easily, yeah. It only took me nagging at you every week is really what it was.
I just wanted to see how long it would go before I finally gave up. So I waited a while.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
But finally we made it to 80 episodes, which is a great milestone in itself. So back again, the live podcast was awesome last week. We're definitely going to talk about that here in a minute. So before we do that, how about we get into our social media?
Yeah, make sure you're following us on Facebook. Lots of good discussion on there. Follow us at Alternative Facts Chicago. Same handle for Instagram. And then on Twitter at AFacts Chicago. You can hit me up on Twitter as Cait Hassett and on Instagram, Cait No Jenner.
And I have some people from work that love your Instagram name, by the way. So
thank you.
Shout out to Shannon. I know she was listening to the podcast just today. She actually listened to our live podcast episode. She loved it. She thought you were hilarious. So,
aw, I'm surprised you said that. I'm surprised you said that on the episode.
I know people do love you. As much as I won't admit it, people do love you. So
awesome. Hey, Shannon. Shout out to you. Thanks for listening.
Shout out to Shannon. So my Instagram is B.Hun1984 as well as my Twitter. Please keep liking us on Facebook. The engagements are great. We do appreciate that. Our iTunes, Alternative Facts Chicago. Please make sure to subscribe. I know I've had some new subscriptions. People this past week said they have subscribed to the show. So I love new listeners. We love new listeners as well. Spotify, you can find us. Google Play, SoundCloud, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Always, you can email us, alternativefactschicago@gmail.com. I think I have everything. We thank you all for the support. Now, who the hell is our clown of the week?
Our clown of the week, you mean our fan of the week?
Did I say that already?
Yeah, you're just skipping. You're skipping forward to like the whole episode.
I think why is because I'm really excited to do our clown of the week tonight. So maybe I just wanted to skip right to it. Maybe one episode we should start with the clown of the week.
Yeah, let's do it. But not this one. Our fan of the week is Joe Nero. You can find him on Instagram at JJAY.DOT Nero, Nero. Really awesome guy. He's from Alabama. So he and I always talk about like how crappy it was growing up in the South and then being here and how expensive everything is here. But he's a huge fan of the podcast. He shares it with all his friends and tells everybody to listen. He's always like sharing it on Snapchat, like hitting up random people and being like, listen to this podcast. So he's a huge fan, super cool guy. Thanks for listening and all your support. We totally appreciate you.
Yeah, we appreciate you. You are not the clown of the week, so please disregard that. Thank you for listening. Thank you for spreading the word of the show. We always appreciate that. I have seen that, our Spotify listeners have grown. iTunes listeners have grown. So whoever's listening, wherever it comes from, we thank you all for the support. Really do appreciate that. Keep them coming. We love all the feedback, both positive and negative. It can't always be positive. No one has a perfect podcast. So any negative feedback, we do bring that out to it. Mainly keep it positive, but something.
Yeah. If it's random people from Alabama on there, they're probably Joe's friends. So to y'all, thanks for listening.
Facts. So now we want to talk a little bit about the live podcast this past week at SafeHouse Chicago. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone from SafeHouse Chicago for helping us put on a great event. It was a great turnout. A lot of people there. The food was there. Drinks were flowing. Shout out to A Brew With You. Shout out to Sensible People Podcast. They did a great job. I think overall, it was just a great night. It was our first live podcast that we put on ourselves. So what's your thoughts on last week's experience?
Oh man, it was great. Such a great time. I had only really met most of those people from the other podcasts, like via texting and not in real life. Besides Taylor over at Sensible People, I'd really only just chatted with everybody else. So it was really cool to just meet them in person. And like you said, this was like the first one that we kind of did ourselves. Like us three podcasts had their creative freedom to kind of go with it. So that was really awesome. It was so interactive. The fans loved it. I know we picked up some new fans in the audience, and other podcasts picked up some new fans. So it was a blast. I'd love to team up and do something again. Just had a great time.
Yeah, now that we know the ropes, you know how it's done, we can expand, do bigger venues. Doesn't really matter. I do like the smaller, intimate feel of a venue. It seemed like even more personable than like a bigger venue, but obviously we kind of know how it's done. I think live shows are great just to be around the audience, interaction. It's a good time. So if you do have a podcast yourself and you're listening, I do encourage you all to branch out, have your own live show. It may or may not be the best one ever, but you'll never know until you try. You'll never know until you do it. And of course, you can always pick up some new fans, new listeners from doing so. So love all the podcasts. Agree with you. Sensible people, great guys, great people. Definitely be doing more work with them in the future. Once again, like I say, shout out and thank you to SafeHouse Chicago. If you ever have in mind for having us do another live show, let us be the first to know. We'll gladly come do it. So now we'll have to plan something for the spring, the summer. The options are endless, but we'll have to plan another live show very, very soon.
Yeah, and if you want to listen or if you want to see Raw Dog singing on Sensible People, I posted on Facebook. It is hysterical. It's probably my favorite part of the night.
He killed it.
Yeah, he killed it. Yeah, it was American Idol for sure.
You think he's gonna? I told him after he should try out for The Voice. So
yeah,
you think maybe he'll do it?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Adam Levine would pick him.
Oh God, yeah. I think him and Adam Levine would get along very well. So that would be a great choice.
Without a doubt.
We thank you all that came out to the live podcast. Of course, we'll have more to come, but we all thank you for the support. Now we got a lot of good topics today.
We do.
I feel like we did a great job of putting this one together. What is first on the docket tonight?
All right, so it's basically the first thing in everybody's brain right now is basketball, LeBron particularly. Got to take a really deep look at LeBron, whether or not he's the GOAT, because this is always the discussion. We're looking at him as he's leading the Lakers right now, as they're probably not going to make the playoffs. Does he get a free pass for this, or what's going on with LeBron?
I have a lot to say on this, but I'll try to keep it short.
Okay.
I do love LeBron James. I had a love-hate relationship with LeBron. Like over the years, I wasn't a big fan. I'll say maybe like the past 6 or 7 years, his second run in Cleveland, I definitely became more of a fan of his. I just kind of respected the fact that he came back to Cleveland, got them a championship. He's a great dude, great family man. He was never in the media for anything negative, and he got a couple of championships, out the deal throughout his career. I think he has 3 so far. Mm-hmm. Since he's gone to gone to the Los Angeles Lakers, they had a good start to the season. Obviously, he did it more so for business reasons, even outside of just going to play basketball. Obviously, he has a lot of shows, a lot of movies. There's just a lot to do in L.A. He's part of music and albums that we'll talk about later. So I totally get that. I think what went wrong with the Lakers in their season, and LeBron gets even part of the credit, not the credit, but a lot of the heat for this. Yes, he did get hurt. We get that. The problem happened when the Anthony Davis trade rumors came into play. I'm not sure if it was Magic Johnson, if it was LeBron James. It probably was a little bit of both. But what happened there is he lost the trust of a lot of his teammates when he and Magic Johnson, whoever you want to blame, decided they wanted to trade about 3/4 of their entire team for one player. That did not happen. And then you have a lot of players in their team who feel you can't trust the Los Angeles Lakers organization. You can't trust LeBron James. You can clearly tell that it's happened. The players have not responded well ever since then. They kept losing ever since LeBron was gone. LeBron James comes back. They still keep losing. You can tell he's not 100%, but when you're supposed to allegedly be the best player in the world, you do have talent on that team. Even though they may be young, you may not necessarily have the right nucleus, but at the end of the day, LeBron James gets a lot of the blame for this. And the bigger problem is you can seem to tell his energy is just isn't there. He almost really doesn't care. Like, if you look at the Snapchats, Instagram stories, he's dancing, he's doing this, he's doing that after games. Like, he almost can tell, like, he knows this season might be a wash. So at the end of the day, he's just playing basketball. He's trying to not take any of the blame. Like, these aren't my guys. And I think at the end of the day, deep down, LeBron James has been to the playoffs pretty much his entire career, except for maybe, one or two seasons. Please fact check me if you want to later. I really don't know. I think he's almost like deep down looking forward to an early summer and actually getting to enjoy his summer. That's kind of how I see it. I can't blame him for that. But what's your thoughts on this whole situation?
So I will say one thing, I've never been like a huge LeBron fan, but one thing I do love about him that you mentioned is that he's always out of the media. He's never messing up. He's never he's never Tristan Thompson cheating on his anything like that. You know what I mean? He is like a stand-up guy, but the one thing I've never liked about him that I just think is catching up for him is that he's always just asking for recognition. Like, he's the first one to call himself the GOAT. He's the first one to act like he's the best. He's asking for recognition all the time. And I think that he just came into LA thinking that he was going to do the same thing here that he's done at other teams before. And it's not happening that way. For one reason or another, you could blame the youth of the team. You could blame him as a leader. You could blame the organization, whatever it is, whoever you want to blame. It's just not happening. And at the end of the day, I think he's just let himself down thinking that he was going to bring a ring to LA and hasn't done it. Obviously, we've seen him be hurt. We've seen the Lakers hurting because of that. I mean, he missed 15 games, but now he's back and they still only won, 6 out of the 9 games he's been back. So it's not like he's having a stellar season when he's here. It's not like he's been healthy. Like you said, he's not really here mentally. And when he talks in interviews, he still just throws his teammates under the bus. He still does, the young players. I mean, he was just in an interview last week. He said, if these young players lack the mental strength required to cope with the pressure of reaching the postseason, then they're at the wrong franchise. No. That's what the leader says. Like, that's ridiculous. I think everybody just thinks that LeBron, this monster, is going to come in and save the team, and he didn't do it this time. And I feel like he's just down on himself for that, and he's projecting to other people. So, I mean, obviously he's still a great player. He's still fantastic. That doesn't change the fact that he's going to go down in top 2 in history. But, I mean, at the end of the day, he's not playing like himself, and it's showing.
Absolutely. You can tell at this point in his career, he would probably never admit it, but it seems right now it's all about records. Like, breaking Jordan records, field goal records, points records, assist records. He wants to end up top 2 or 3 in literally every single statistical category, and he just may do that. At the end of the day, he really just, I don't know, we could be wrong. He just doesn't necessarily seem to care about championships. And while he may not care, he's still throwing his teammates under the bus in the process of doing so. And no matter what anyone says, it is affecting their gameplay. And for some reason, as a leader, you would think he would understand that and keep his mouth shut. As an example, he credited Giannis's team, Milwaukee, saying, they stacked him with, a great supporting cast. And he mentioned that a couple of times in the interview. Like, bro, you do have Brandon Ingram, you do have Kuzma, you have Rondo. I mean, Lonzo Ball is hurt. So you do have some talent. You do have some players. The problem is you were always in the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference was much easier. You can't have that happen and not play well as a team every single night in the Western Conference, and it's showing. But the bigger issue is you're losing to teams like the Knicks. You're losing to teams like Phoenix. Just horrible, horrible teams that as just the best player in the world, it just should not happen. So he should have that killer instinct and be able to win games on his own, whether he's not 100% or not, whether he's 100% or not, he still should be the best player in the world and overcome that. And he's simply not. Like I said, deep down, I think he's just ready for an early summer. He can be in LA, do his business ventures, reload their team, and come back full force next season. But for that, he doesn't get a free pass from me at all. He's definitely to blame for this.
Word. I think he just gets butthurt every time he sees a Jordan jersey.
Because now it's getting to the point where, you're going to break all his records. You still only have 3 championships. Jordan has 6. And for a fact, a Michael Jordan team will never, ever be losing to the worst team in the NBA multiple times over. Like, it just wouldn't happen.
Well, and even that, I've said it once and I'll say it 1,000,001 times. Michael Jordan has never had to tell us he was the greatest of all time, and he never will. And
that is a fact. That is a fact. So it'll be interesting to see a playoff run without LeBron James in it. It's actually going to be very weird. But I'm actually kind of excited for it. I think it'll be good to have, a new, fresh NBA playoff season. With obviously Golden State will be there, but it'll just be fresh teams in the Eastern Conference, and you're going to see an actual different championship this season. So I'm actually looking forward to it.
Y'all are. It's going to be great.
Switching gears, let's talk a little Michael Jackson. So obviously coming out, we had the whole big R. Kelly situation, that Surviving R. Kelly documentary. Now we're switching gears. We're getting to the Michael Jackson Leaving Neverland documentary. I've seen a lot of posts on Facebook, Twitter, social media about people saying that we have to keep that same energy for Michael Jackson as people have with R. Kelly. So I want to ask you, will this documentary, I'm not even sure if it's out yet, when it's coming out, but will that change your opinion of Michael Jackson after all these years?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's not after all these years. Like, he was accused of child sexual abuse, like, in the 90s and got off, very similarly to, like, what happened with R. Kelly. And so if you have a trailer for this documentary, it's like two boys that, you know, were essentially groomed in Neverland, just the way R. Kelly has groomed and many other pedophiles in the history of the world have groomed, you know, their prey. And they're finally, like, coming out and, like, telling their story and, like, telling everything about it. But, I mean, he's dead. Unfortunately, he can't go to court. He can't be brought to justice. Nothing can ever happen because of this. And so, differently to the R. Kelly, I just don't think his reputation will ever really be tainted because of it, because he's not here to live through it. Like, obviously, we're going to watch R. Kelly go to court. Like, we're seeing people, like, that are being hurt by R. Kelly, and it's current in the media because he's still around. But I think with this, it's like he's never going to be, I think Michael Jackson is never going to be able to overcome the reputation he has as a great tribute to society and, like, this pop star and somebody who changed music and child stardom and this, that, and the other. I don't think it's ever going to go past that. I don't think we're ever going to remember him for the bad things. I think it's just always going to be the positives.
I think so too. And I do remember back in 2005, he was acquitted of, like, sex abuse or child abuse or something like that back then. So the fact that he did have his day in court through all this and he was acquitted, whether you believe it or not, I think the bigger thing, like you said, he just, you know, he's dead. He's passed. He died in 2009. It's 2019. It's 10 years later. I don't really look at Michael Jackson one way or another because of this. You know, I was very young when Michael Jackson was in his prime, so I didn't necessarily get to really appreciate his greatness as someone else. Like, I wasn't, you know, living through Michael Jackson like as I did through the R. Kelly days. So totally different perspective. I see people on social media who do feel a certain type of a way. At the end of the day, I'm not going to lose any sleep over this. Will I look at his legacy any different because of this? Absolutely not. I know it may sound hypocritical based off of what we've seen with R. Kelly. I totally get that. But at the end of the day, he was actually acquitted. And the story, I know it came out on Sunday and Monday, the documentaries, for what I just looked up online, it basically was accounts of just two people. So a lot of he say, she say with that. It wasn't like multiple, like hundreds and hundreds of accounts that we saw with R. Kelly. So similar stories, but not completely similar, was much less people that we know of right now. So at the end of the day, he can't defend himself. I think we all should just move on. It's just for ratings. We're in that age of just putting everything on blast. So I don't think it's necessarily that huge of a deal at this point in time.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's not a big deal. I'm not going to say, I think that the kids that went through it still deserve, like, their chance to tell their story. I'm sure that they're going to be affected from this from their entire life because it is a big deal, but I just don't think it's enough to tarnish his name, unfortunately. Now, if we,
that's what I mean.
It's more kids come out saying,
right.
I guess adults saying it happened to me, then that's one thing, and maybe that will even make, but I don't know. I don't even know if that would make the needle move. You know what I mean? Because he's not, unfortunately, he's not here. Like, I don't, it's like when we hear about all the terrible things that happened, you know what I mean, back in history. It's kind of like, well, it's back then. Like, it's like, what can we really do about it now? You know?
Exactly.
There's no way to really move forward. So, I mean, it's a terrible thing regardless, but I just don't think it's really going to taint his legacy at all.
And that's what I mean. But that obviously it's a big deal.
Okay. Just making sure.
I'm not saying like no one cares. But in terms of his legacy, that's what I mean. It's not going to be a big deal. Like, people knew or heard the rumors and opinions of those things back in the 2000s. And it didn't change anything then. Everyone loves Michael Jackson, possibly one of the greatest entertainers of our time, top 3 to 5, number 1 in some people's opinions. He say, she say, it doesn't really matter. I think this is just going to come. It's going to end up going, not going to be anywhere near the R.Kelly situation. That's just much deeper issue. But I think we need to let the story unfold. If more people come out, I think we can revisit it then for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to some football. So Antonio Brown is trending right now. Obviously, he was in this really up close and personal interview with ESPN this past weekend. They toured his hometown in Texas. They talked about the Steelers situation. They talked about his upbringing. He rocked this really hideous blonde mustache. I have no idea what was going on there. But it just brings up a really important question. What's going on with Antonio Brown? Do you think he's just getting himself blackballed by the NFL right now by not making any decisions?
So what I do love and respect about Antonio Brown, I did make a Facebook post about this, got a lot of comments, a lot of feedback. I do love the simple fact that he is speaking up about his life, speaking up about his career, and he's taking his career in his hands. I think what happens with a lot of professional athletes, dead serious, you make all this money, you work for these owners, you work for these teams, and a lot of people feel they don't have a voice. They have to stand down almost, and almost pretty much just take whatever happens to them. They get traded, they get treated like crap. Maybe talk about a little bit behind the scenes, but nothing ever really happens. I do love and respect that Antonio Brown has proven himself. He is the best receiver in football, has been for the last 5 or 6 years. He's made a ton of money. He's set for the rest of his life and maybe even generations to come, if he spends his money well. I do love that fact that he's being honest about a situation which most people don't do. Where he could go wrong, and I mentioned this before, I think it is smart that he stops now because no one player is bigger than the NFL. You've seen it many times with people like Terrell Owens, Chad Ochocinco. They did many, many more things than Antonio Brown, but at the end of the day, they will cut the cord on any player at any given time, no matter how successful they are, and they will move on. They've done it to Colin Kaepernick, obviously not as successful, but just an example there. No one player is bigger than the NFL, and they will 100% blackball him. They'll make sure no team sign him if he doesn't shut up. He's been on ESPN. He's been on HBO The Shop. He's made his points. He said what he said about Big Ben, the team, the league. Now he needs to let it go, sit back, chill, get traded, go to another team. If he goes on a media run this entire summer, I promise you, he's quoted here, he will not be playing on a team next season. So he needs to chill. I love the guy to death. Fire up, Chips. I'll always rock with Antonio Brown. I'm proud of him. You made your point. Now let everyone else do the work and get you to a better team. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you. At the beginning of this whole debate, I remember when I first started actually doing the podcast, we were talking about Antonio Brown sitting out and this, that, and the other. And I kind of was like, just play. But I feel like he's done what he's come to accomplish to do. He wanted to bring this to light. He wanted to say, hey, there's some shit going on. Stuff is wrong. This is how I'm not the only one that feels this way. Obviously we've seen people come out before, but it changes constantly. And he's saying this is still a theme. This is still what's happening. And he wants to control his destiny to an extent. He wants to have more say in where he goes and how much of his investment in his time he's putting in the NFL and what he's getting in return versus just money. He's we're being used. So I love what he stands for and I love what he's saying, but I think you're spot on. I think he needs to just chill. He's gotten the media attention. He's brought it to people's attention. And he said, he doesn't need football. He doesn't have to play if he doesn't want to. He has nothing to prove to anyone, and he definitely doesn't. He's made his mark on the NFL. He's good. And at this point, if he needs to bow out, he needs to bow out. But I think if he continues on this crusade, making himself a martyr for the sport, he's going to get blackballed. Nobody's going to sign him. Nobody's going to want him. Unfortunately, we just saw this happen to Kaepernick. You know what I mean? And I don't think Nike's going to come sign Antonio Brown for $1 million contract. So I think that he needs to either sign with the team or he needs to bow out right now. And if he stands for his morals the way he's saying he does, then to me, I think he's going to stop playing.
So you really think he's not going to play this upcoming season?
I'm just saying from that interview, that's how it seemed to me. I doubt he really will, but I'm going to lose some respect almost for him if he doesn't, because he's I don't need this. I don't need this. Well, okay, then don't play. And that's what I want to see happen.
So I know he's still in the contract to the Steelers. He's trying to request a trade. Obviously, if they don't trade him, obviously he has to go back to the team. Would he give up his career to not play? You're right. He may do that, but I don't think he's that silly to give up his career now. I think he's just saying that to get the team to do something, to get another team to want to pick up and sign him. But at the end of the day, saying you don't need the NFL, and if another team, picks you up, you have to play, have to play by your rules. Boy, you're playing with fire, kids. So
right.
I love his energy. I love what he's doing. He just has to be careful. The NFL is a beast that a lot of times they honestly really don't care. They will definitely blackball you. So I'm excited to see where this unfolds. It's going to be a long summer with this, but we'll definitely be on top of this story.
Absolutely.
Before we get into everything Chicago, we should definitely pay some bills. So this portion of Everything Chicago is sponsored by the Wrigley Report. Cubs fans, if you're looking for the latest Wrigley renovations, updates, team news, player analysis, and overall Cub news, look no further than the Wrigley Report. Your source for all Chicago Cub news. Find us on all social media sites at the Wrigley Report. Once again, that is at the Wrigley Report. Spring training's underway. Baseball season is coming. That means warm weather for those in the Midwest very soon. I'm pretty excited about the season. I'm pretty excited to see what happens to the Cubs and the White Sox. We'll definitely be tuning in. But getting into some Chicago news, the woman who bailed R.Kelly out of jail just this past week, obviously we wonder where the money came from since R.Kelly and his team announced he did not have the $100,000 to bail himself out of jail for when he did get all the charges finally, which we knew was going to happen. So article came out recently that there was a story that the friend allegedly that spoke with that bailed her out of jail. I guess her name was Valencia Love, I think she is. Mm-hmm. She's the one that bailed him out of jail. I guess she has a daycare center. And just this past week, it was announced that there were death threats given to her and the child care center, which is crazy. It's actually the daycare near West 79th and Kedzie. Why did this happen? Who do you think did it? What's the motive by this? And even if so, why a daycare center? What's your thoughts?
So they weren't really sure why she was at the daycare center or what connection she had. She's not the owner. She might work there, but obviously the daycare center is not like releasing that information, which I wouldn't do now because they definitely didn't expect somebody to, give them bomb threats just because she was there. But I had to narrow down like who is doing this. I would say it's a parent of one of the girls that's been abducted. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people are just really tense right now in the city of Chicago. Like their daughters have been dealing with this for years and years and years. And it was like finally freedom was on the horizon because everyone just knew R.Kelly didn't have the money to get himself out of jail. And then some woman comes in and says, he's not a monster and puts up $100,000 to let him go free. And where does he go? Right back to McDonald's where he used to pry on young women. So I think this was just a mom, a dad, a parent of a girl that R.Kelly has held captive that just got real heated and was like, thinking that this was going to be the end. He was going to be stuck in jail until his court date and was never going to get out and just let emotions get the best of him or her.
Yeah, I don't know who did it. Pretty freaking crazy though, right? The biggest thing is like a daycare center. Like why target a daycare center?
Right.
I guess it's like the motive behind it. Like kids are there, R.Kelly. Maybe that's it. Not 100% sure. Honestly, I think it's just a crazy lunatic. Social media age, there's a lot of crazy people out there. There's so many different ways you can find out information on people on social media. Right. I don't think anything was actually going to happen. I remember when I was a kid in school, we used to get like death threats at our school in Detroit, like randomly, and kids would freak out. Nothing would ever happen. But it's just the easy way. And it's really nuts, right? Isn't that crazy? Like I remember grade school. It was like a Catholic grade school, good school. We would get random death threats. Like people
death threats?
Freak, like death threats, like bomb threats to the school.
What?
Like, yes, I don't know. What this is back in like, what was I, in the 90s? When I was a kid, I have no idea. I think it might have been people like bored, like playing on phones and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm digressing. I don't know why that would happen, but.
Wait, you had phones in the 90s?
No, like, like school phones, like, when people.
Oh, I was like, y'all texted in death threats? Like, what are you talking about?
I wish, like, bomb threats, like, someone would call, like, the main school line saying they're going to blow up the school or something like that. Like, why, I honestly don't know. I feel like it's the same situation, like, with the child care center. Definitely wouldn't happen. Obviously, you got to be alarmed by this, but poor lady, obviously, she was just trying to help out a friend. No telling it. They were probably banging or something, in their past. So probably
she's too old for him.
Yeah, that is probably true. So, hopefully everything works out. It is a scary situation, but yeah, everyone's got to chill.
Man, the most exciting thing that ever happened in my school was like tornado drills.
Tornado drills.
Yeah, we'd have to go out in the hallway and like put your head down with like your hands over the back of your neck, like they thought that was going to save us from something.
Yeah, who would have if you really was there a tornado? Do you think you can get a whole school of kids to sit like that with their heads over the head?
No,
absolutely not. It's going to be pure chaos.
Can't even get them to keep their heads down during Heads Up 7-Up.
Yeah, even like the fire drill, they're like walk in a straight line, like let's walk outside together. If there's a fire,
I'm running. I'm gone.
1,000%.
Bye, y'all. All right, we digress really far. Let's talk about the Chicago mayoral election. Obviously, we gave you the fan of the week, or the clown. God.
See?
The clown of the week last week, the whole city of Chicago for not coming out and voting. We finally have 2 candidates. We've narrowed it down, and Chicago's next mayor is officially going to be a Black woman. It's between Lori Lightfoot, former federal prosecutor, and Toni Preckwinkle, the president of the Cook County Board of Commissioners. We are having the final election April 2nd. Who is going to win?
Honestly, I really don't know. I wish I had the answers. Have absolutely no idea. I don't know much about Lori Lightfoot, even though that's a hell of a name. Lori Lightfoot brings off the tongue very well. She's a former federal prosecutor. Toni Preckwinkle, president of the Cook County Board of Commissioners. I feel like she's going to know more people. I feel like she's probably just going to win by default. Yeah. And I guess I got to do more research. It's still very early. I'm honestly just not excited about either candidate. I think the great aspect of it is will be a Black woman as mayor of the city of Chicago.
Oh, yeah,
I think she fits with, obviously, a lot of the demographic of the city. It's definitely a welcome change from Mayor, Rahm Emanuel, past mayors that we've had. Maybe the city of Chicago, maybe that's something that we need. I do feel like she's going to be on a very uphill battle in regards to politics, Congress, the government, everything in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. It's a lot going on there. So maybe that is what the city needs. A complete change. Let's go way left from what we've done, and I wish either candidate the best. So I'm not sure who's going to win, but I hope it's the right candidate because Lord knows Chicago needs it.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is both of their platforms are so similar that literally you could take either candidate. It doesn't really matter. They pretty much stand for the same things. The only thing is going to be different, obviously, is that we're looking at their background right now, because the biggest thing on top of everybody's mind is the Chicago pension and how the Chicago pension crisis, or whatever they're calling it, and the next mayor is going to have to dig us out of that. So I really think at this point it doesn't matter who wins, which that sounds so sad, but they basically stand for the same things. So
basically you're saying flip a coin.
Flip a coin. Let's not even wait till April. Let's just pick one now.
Yeah, I'd be curious, but I hope no matter what, that each person gets the city of Chicago excited. Obviously, the terrible voter turnout didn't really work out so well. No one voted. And obviously, with millennials being the largest crowd right now in the city of Chicago, those are the people that need to be speaking to. They have to do something to get voters engaged, to get voters excited about one candidate. And if they fail to do that, come November, no one's going to care. And whoever wins, they're still going to be on an uphill battle because no one got their invested interest. So that's going to be their biggest task at hand, no matter what. But I'm curious to see what happens.
We'll have to wait and see.
Still, speaking in regards to politics in Chicago, Bernie Sanders, he started and held a presidential campaign very early. He held a rally at Navy Pier in Chicago just this past week. So for all that does not know, Bernie Sanders, he actually is a graduate of the University of Chicago. So maybe that was why he wanted to, kick off his campaign there, have a rally early here in Chicago. Heard it was a great turnout. He talked about offering free college, Medicare for all. Of course, you're dealing with the demographic here in Chicago. You speak to that. There's a lot of students in Chicago. Yes, you could get a lot of votes there. So he wants to have, I guess essentially a political revolution. I've had my comments that Bernie Sanders is way too old to be running for president, but here he is. He's still running. He's on the trail. We are here right now. Why did he pick Chicago? Why so soon? And is there a method behind his madness?
I think that Bernie Sanders is going after the African American demographic right now. He was just on Breakfast Club. All of the campaigning he did, even though his rally was at Navy Pier, all of the campaigning that his people did were like on the South Side. And I think that's where he's starting with. So that's what I think the strategy was. Obviously, Chicago has a huge Black population. There's tons of Black people here. We're very diverse. And I think that that's really what he's going for. Minorities as a whole, but I think he's really trying to get in the faces of African Americans, particularly young ones, people that have never voted, and trying to sway their opinion. That's what I think his strategy is.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I guess I get that, but obviously you got to remember 3-4 years ago, wasn't that his target market to begin with? Like, what's changed between now and then? We knew that was going to be his demographic. And I mean, I think it worked. He got a lot of support from the Black community the first time. I feel like, what is he going to do different? Going after the Black community again, is that going to change or get him more votes? My gut says no. I think he's going to get a lot of that support as it is. What is he going to do different this time to get more votes? Otherwise, I don't think he's going to win.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really say he's doing anything differently. Unfortunately, I think what happened last time is that nobody just actually really thought Trump would win. And that's what happened. And it was kind of like, it doesn't matter who runs against Trump because Trump won't win. And so I think that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see. Like, so I don't think he's the right candidate. Great man, still too old, but he's here. You know, if you think he's the right candidate, got to go out and support him. But I do hope there are younger, more fresh faces that come to run against Trump, because deep down, if it's Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump, I think Donald Trump's going to win again. What about you?
Yeah, I think so too. Well, I don't know about Donald Trump. I've already said I don't think that we're going to have Donald Trump again, but I think that we are going to continue another few years of Republicans. So I don't really know who's going to take on from the Republican sector yet. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't think our country is going to vote Democrat anytime soon.
Wow, that's crazy. But obviously, Donald Trump is going to rerun. So if that's the case, he's definitely going to win, if that's what you're saying. But you could be right, though.
Mm-hmm. I could.
Which is
we all could be. Okay, moving on. So there is a Chicago real estate agent in the Chicago area. This is freaking hysterical. I don't know if you watch this video or not. Her name is Trinette Lindsay. She is making waves in the area right now by making rap videos to educate and support people to buy homes in Chicago. And these are like real rapping videos. Like, she talks about the home buying process, how to get a loan, how to get a mortgage. She calls herself like T. Lindsay in the beginning. It's like there's a beat and a music video and everything. It is real serious. But does that make you want to buy a home? Is the question.
Hey, genius idea. You know, you got to speak to the demographic that you're at, and obviously, if you want to get to the young minds of, you know, those in the 20s that are start buying homes. Mainstream culture is rap music right now. If you got to speak to them that way, by all means do it. I saw the video. It was hilarious. Kudos to her for the great idea. That is what you call thinking outside the box. Realistically, is that going to get someone to buy a home? Probably not. Probably not, but I do give her an A for effort. You got to try something. I think it's very, very clever. I don't know if anyone's going to buy a home because of it. I think if you're going to buy a home, you were going to buy a home regardless. I do know that I'm glad that it helps you know a little bit more about real estate. So A for effort probably won't help with buying home sales, but if it does, shout out to her for that. What do you think?
Okay, well, if you were buying a home, would you work with her because she made rap videos?
I think I would now, just for the simple fact she thought outside the box. But if she doesn't cut me a deal, it's not going to work out anyway.
Yeah, I loved it. I actually loved the video. When I first heard about it, I was like, what the hell? But it was like a real video. She wasn't just like in front of her computer rapping. Like, she produced a video, and it was really good. She killed it. And I did see that like home ownership is on the rise again here in Chicago. So I'm not really sure if that was kind of her strategy on why she went for it. But like, kudos to her. It was super ballsy. Just put herself out there, and it was actually really good. So I hope she gets a lot of business out of it.
Absolutely. So shout out to her for that. Make sure you check out the video.
Yeah, T. Lindsay.
T. Lindsay. Good for her. Just like T. Grizzly from Detroit. I rock with that.
All right.
Lastly, you know I had to bring up the D. Now, that pause on that one. But
I got nothing.
Lastly, and everything in Chicago. If you haven't look on Chicago Sun-Times, Chicago Tribune. A couple weeks ago, there was an article going around. There's a plan to pay $1,000 residents $1,000 a month, no strings attached. It's been pitched by a panel here in Chicago, basically by Mayor Rahm Emanuel. He asked retiring Alderman, I think, Amaya Power of the 47th Ward, who's championed the cause of income inequality, to chair a task force to consider universal basic income in Chicago. Essentially saying they're going to pick 1,000 families to get $1,000 a month just for basically living in Chicago to kind of help with the low poverty income that's been going on in the city of Chicago for a long time. It's basically going to add up 1,000 people, 1,000 a month, adds up to $12 million a year to be bankrolled by an unspecific mix of city funds and philanthropic dollars. So the selection process and eligibility requirements would be left to the new mayor and city council. So we have no idea who those 1,000 people would be. But basically, almost like reparations for slavery is kind of how I look at it, which I know a lot of African Americans, a lot of people in poverty would love to have. Do you think this is a good idea?
Man, it sounds really good, but it also, leave it to Rahm Emanuel to just come up with this. I know it wasn't just him, but just come up with this idea of $12 million a year and just drop it on some mayor and leave. You know what I'm saying? And unspecified where we're going to get the, it's just leave it to Rahm Emanuel to do that. I was not even surprised. I think it's a really great idea in theory. I think it could really help a lot of individuals and families out that are stuck in that poverty cycle, but I don't think in the long run it's really going to change anything. Like we look at things like food stamps, we look at things like WIC that are also supposed to help with that, with low income families getting back on their feet. And the point of food stamps is to get on food stamps and then get off food stamps. And we see that not happening. So unfortunately, I don't really think it's going to break the cycle. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think if I won $1,000 a month for the next year, I would be praising the Lord.
Yeah, so I'll be curious to see what happens. It'd be awesome if it'll happen. My gut says it probably won't. It has to get approved. Who's going to give the money? What family's going to get the money? If you're not, it's almost like getting a lottery, almost, so to speak. So sounds great. Like I said, it's almost like the Dave Chappelle reparations for slavery episode where, all black people just got a ton of money. So when I read this article, that was the first thing that popped in my mind. So getting $1,000 a month just to live sounds amazing. But hey, let's wait and see what happens. But if you get selected for this, if it goes through, please spend your money wisely.
Right.
Don't just take all the money to the strip club and things like that. So it will make this all pretty pointless.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. There's got to be some kind of contingency around it. It's got to be on a WIC card or something. You know what I mean? They're not going to hand you $1,000 in hundreds and say bye.
Right.
They're not going to do that. I wouldn't think. That'd be stupid.
Who knows with the city of Chicago?
Yeah. All right. That was an awesome Everything Chicago.
Definitely.
We're going to move on to the quick hits. It's brought to you by our friends at Posh by Imani, women's apparel boutique based out of Houston, Texas, and founded on faith, love, and the right to stand out. They have quality, affordable, and chic apparel, serving all women one curve at a time. You can shop them online, Posh by Imani, IMANI.com. Also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And they just opened their brand new location. So shout out to Posh by Imani. We love them.
Absolutely. We love them. They're doing great things. Make sure you check them out. They're always on Instagram posting things. So we appreciate you being a sponsor of Alternative Fact Chicago. Now getting into quick hits. A couple new albums this past weekend. We'll talk about 2 Chainz here in a minute. But first, the highly anticipated Solange new album. I heard it was supposed to come out in late 2018. Got pushed the first quarter of 2019. Seen a lot on social media. Did you get a chance to listen, or what's your thoughts?
I actually listened to it all day today in the office, and I really liked it. It sounded really good. It's very smooth. She's got a great voice. There's a couple very good songs off it. Just like Solange that we know and love. It's all women empowerment. It's really, really great. I think it was the perfect month to come out since it's, International Women's Month, and I think it's fantastic. Would I say it's my favorite album of all time? No, it's not my favorite genre of all time, but it was really good music today at the office. I dug it.
Interesting you say that. I'm going to take the counter approach. I didn't listen to the entire album. It was pretty short. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I just couldn't get through it. I tried. I love Solange. I loved her last album. This one was very, very lukewarm, and I gave it I tried to give it like another spin to like get through it, and maybe it wasn't in the right frame of mind, like didn't listen in the right place. But I don't know. I'm gonna go with the pass on this one. It just didn't do it for me. I have seen mixed reviews of people who love her music, love that type of music, who also said it was very lukewarm. So I expected a lot more, since her last album. She's still a great artist. She'll make better music. I'm gonna go with it was very middle of the road for me.
Interesting. I will say, even for her, it was very mellow.
Yes.
Very, very mellow. And I think that's why I liked it, like, at work, because it was just, like, background. I was just working, and it was playing. But, yeah, even for her, it was really mellow.
I agree on that.
All right, moving on to some sports news. Obviously, we know that Bryce Harper has officially signed. Did he make a mistake not taking a 4-year offer with the Dodgers at $45 million a year, even though it would have made him a free agent again at 30? What are your thoughts?
100%. I definitely think he made a mistake. You pass up $45 million a year, and then at age 30, you'll probably get an even bigger contract. Definitely think he made a mistake. The LA Dodgers, it's warm. You're in LA. It's Hollywood. I mean, it's a great city to be at. You can chill, play baseball, make $45 million a year. I mean, that's just a lot of money. But yes. I will give him props that he said he wanted to end his career with the Philadelphia Phillies. He wants to play out, the rest, 13 years in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. He's going to make a ton of money. They have an amazing fan base. It's a hardcore city, very blue collar. They're going to embrace him. They will love him there. So for that, I do understand. But, bro, get $45 million a year and be a free agent at 30, and then you can go to Philly. So, yes, I think he made a mistake.
I feel like I'm not even really surprised that he went to Philly anymore after everything he said. Like, Bryce Harper is this very wholesome individual. Like, he's really not in, pro sports for the money, or right. Had no interest in being a free agent again at 30. That was the last thing on his mind. Like, I feel like Philly is the perfect place for him to settle down. It's the same reason people like Chris Bryant love Chicago, love the Midwest. It's that hometown feeling. It's still a big city. He's definitely going to be that guy that settles down and wants to stay there forever. I'm not even surprised he picked Philly for Philly. I don't think he made a mistake in terms of like what he wants out of his life. And now, I mean, obviously he's already trying to get Mike Trout over there. So he's going to build his team because he knows he's going to stay there. And I think that's exactly what he wanted. So for me personally, I can't say I would have turned down that contract, but I think it came down to the lifestyle he wants was not going to be in LA. So goes to him.
True that. And Philly, they had a great offseason. They picked up a lot of quality players. So they're definitely building something great there. The Eagles obviously just won the Super Bowl. The basketball team, 76ers, are good. So it's a good time to be a sports fan in the city of Philadelphia. So I can't hate on that at all.
Cool. Good for him.
The Bachelor, don't know why. Didn't see it. It was trending last night. Some of the girls in my work today were talking about it. What the hell happened? And why is everyone talking about The Bachelor?
Okay, so obviously I don't watch TV, but my friend Michelle, she came to the Chicago Podcast Festival. She was supposed to have dinner with me last night and ditched me to watch The Bachelor. And so I asked her after you and I were talking about it, and I was like, what the hell happened last night? That's trending. That's so important. And so I want to read her text because I think it's important. Okay. She said, there are 3 girls left, and basically the girl he wants to marry, Cassie, told him she wasn't sure about how she felt about him, that she loves him, but she isn't in love with him. And she said she doesn't know if she can get there in the following 1 to 2 weeks before the engagement, and said it wasn't fair to him that she stayed. So he told her she was the one and that he loved her and begged her to stay, and said there doesn't have to be an engagement and they can take it slow. And he just wanted to be with her. He was shaking. It was endearing. This is all she said. Leaving, and he was like, I'm done with this shit, and took off his mic, took his phone, and jumped the fence and ran away. And then the crew opened the fence. It was like an electric, tall fence. They didn't know which way he went, and it was dark. So basically they lost him, and the episode ended.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Television.
Thank you for the synopsis, Michelle. Shout out, because that was legit. I didn't have to watch it, nor would I have anyway, but I didn't have to.
That was perfect. That sounds like great reality television. I'm sure it got great ratings. They were saying at work today that they're doing like an episode with the women who got eliminated from early in the season. That's tonight, I believe. I could be wrong. But man, that is great television. That's the reason why The Bachelor, The Bachelorette keeps doing these spinoffs back and forth for moments like that on the show. Now, what happens? Like, obviously, he wanted the third that was third. Well, I guess he's going to be third place now. What is he going to say to the top two choices? Like, does he not pick either one of them? Does he pick them and now has to, like, lie to them until this point and say, oops, sorry, I really wanted the third girl. Like, sorry you found out. Like, what do you do now? Like, what's going to happen from here?
I mean, I think at this point, it sucks that since that was like a one-on-one date, the other girls don't know.
Exactly.
At this point, you should just be hoping that you don't get chosen because then you have a better chance of getting a spinoff.
I heard also a lot of girls at work talk. I think they heard they picked the next Bachelorette. It was someone who was eliminated weeks ago too. So I have no idea. Like I said, I don't really watch the show. I've watched like clips here and there of random seasons when people tell me to. But man, I totally see why that show makes it for episodes like that. That's crazy.
Yeah. But then again, like how much of it was like planned? I don't know. That's all.
Who knows? You know,
that's
it's like
reality
shows are like they're real, but like loosely staged at times. So you just never know what's real and fake.
I always just think they're all fake. Okay, moving on to basketball. So Kyrie Irving has taken a lot of heat this season for Boston's huge lack of success. From the beginning, we thought they were going to be a great team. That's just kind of gone downhill ever since. He's even said, like, he doesn't care about being famous. He just wants to play ball. But, like, is he a good leader or not?
So the problem I have with Kyrie Irving, I love him. He's honestly one of my favorite top 2 or 3 players in the NBA. I rock with him. You're going to have highs and lows of an NBA career. He's still a young dude. I think he's, 26 years old?
Yeah,
27, 26 years old. He's still a relatively, young guy, playing in the NBA. The problem that I have here is now all of a sudden you're catching some heat in the media from your teammates. You're not playing that well. Now all of a sudden you don't want to be famous. Now all of a sudden you don't necessarily care about being famous in the media, the cameras all around you. When at the end of the day, weren't you just recently in a movie that came out this past summer? You didn't have an issue with it then. You didn't care about your celebrity status at that time. Now, all of a sudden, it's, I just want to be a basketball player. I just want to play games. No, at the end of the day, you are one of the best 5 to 10 NBA players in the world. Your team was favored to not only be in the NBA Finals, but by some to win the NBA championship going into the season. Now that your team's not doing so well, you'll definitely still make the playoffs, but you're limping into a playoff run. Now you just want to be a player. I get it, bro. I'm calling bogus. At the end of the day, he still has time to make things right. The season is over. Boston will make the playoffs, where LeBron James probably won't make the playoffs. So you can still right the ship. You can still end a great story, whether you stay in Boston or not. This will be a pivotal moment in his career because he is a free agent this summer and things are probably going to change. He's probably not going to stay in Boston. You better play the best you've ever played, make some waves, and end the season on the right note because right now it's not looking so good, but he is a young guy. He'll figure it out. I still rock with Kyrie Irving. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, he's still super young. He's 26. Obviously, the verdict is still up in the air whether he's going to become the leader the Celtics need. And I think that this is the problem. He was traded from Cleveland to the Boston Celtics, and he just viewed himself at the beginning as a leader of a group of young guys. But he learned his leadership from LeBron. And it's so obvious when he was just recently asked if he was worried about where the Celtics stood in terms of the playoffs. He said he was not, and the reason is because I'm here. That is a LeBron answer if I've ever heard one. But it's not as good as LeBron, where we have leaders like Steph Curry that are asked similar questions, and they answer with we understand what we're here to accomplish, right? He uses we statements. He talks as a team. He's a true leader. Kyrie is not there yet. He's too young. He learned his leadership from LeBron, and he's not as good as LeBron, and I feel like he's never going to be the leader that Boston wanted him to be.
No, and you know what? That might be okay. Not everyone has to be, the best player has to be the leader on the team.
Right.
Sometimes you need other players to do so. Where Boston's gone wrong this year, they have the wrong lineups out there. They didn't focus on Jaylen Brown this season. He's coming as a backup to Marcus Smart. So we can talk about what's going on with the Boston Celtics another time, another day. But just because you're the best player doesn't mean you have to be the leader. And that is okay. So forcing him to be that leader, maybe that's just not him. But now look what we see with LeBron struggling, Kyrie struggling. Could this be a time of all places? What if Kyrie ends up with the Lakers this summer? They have a reconciliation tour. They play together. and they win more championships. Wouldn't that be a turn of events?
Absolutely. That'd be fantastic because I think he plays great with LeBron. I don't think he has any business leading a team. But that also makes me think, like, did Boston bring him over to lead the team, or do you think he just put that on himself?
Yeah, I think he put that on himself. Like, obviously, he's the best player. You know, he wants to be that leader. Not everyone necessarily has that leadership qualities in them, and that's kind of what we're seeing right now. Boston just needs other leaders that can step up and help. Maybe it's not him, but he is a young guy. He's only 26. He can still figure it out. But for right now, Boston needs someone to help him. It's just not him. But at the end of the day, he has time to right the ship. The Eastern Conference is still wide open for the playoffs.
Yeah, you think they're going to make it?
Oh, I mean, there's the fourth or fifth seed. They're 100% in. They're like 8 or 9 games up over the 6th seed. So they're definitely in the playoffs. But will they actually make some noise in the playoffs is to be seen. I still have them going to at least the Eastern Conference Finals, maybe the NBA Finals, but we'll see what happens on that one.
Heard that.
Next, 2 Chainz album was A&R by LeBron James. Not sure what he really means by A&R, like at the end of the day. But have you listened, and was this his best album yet?
I listened to most of it. I haven't listened to all of it. I'm not going to lie. I think it was a really, really good album. Obviously, the theme of the whole album was, you know, people sleep on 2 Chainz. And I think I kind of have also in the past, because I don't ever consider him being somebody that puts out a true album that's good from start to finish. So most of the songs I heard were really good. I can't say it was his best one. Obviously, Based on a True Story was his first and to me best, but I haven't listened to A&R in completion, so I can't really chime in. But what I did listen to, I really did like. I think 2 Chainz is really underrated, and I think this was kind of like a redemption album for him.
Absolutely. I think he's matured as an artist. I think this was definitely his most mature album. He has some great features on there. I think he picked the right people for the song. So I think overall, I like 2 Chainz better as a singles artist. Like listening to his full album, got a little bored with it. I don't necessarily care to hear, 15, 18 songs from 2 Chainz, but having listened through it, I think it was a well put together album. Was it his best? I think I've heard a couple that were better. Can't name which ones they are right now, but it was a well put together album for 2 Chainz. I think he's made his mark in music. I mean, he's gotten much bigger than I ever thought he would be. He seems like he's going to do too. Very successful. So shout out to 2 Chainz on that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving on to some sad news. So rest in peace, Luke Perry passed away this past week, 52 years old of a massive stroke. Very surprising, very sad for a lot of fans. What show did you prefer, 90210 or Melrose Place?
100% it was 90210.
Oh, was it?
I watched that every single week. It was crazy. I remember the episode when Dylan died, he died or like his dad died, like in the car accident, like the car blew up. It was like the season finale. I couldn't remember. I think it was like his father. Absolutely not. That was drama and a half back in the 1990s. So Melrose Place was cool. Beverly Hills 90210. I was like, that's what made you want to live in Cali as a kid. So I'm definitely going with that.
Was he on Melrose Place?
No, he was on 90210.
Oh, those were just the 2 famous ones? Obviously, I was way too young.
Yeah, you were way too young.
I was not allowed to watch 90210.
90210 came on, and then Melrose Place came on after. I think it was on Fox on either like a Sunday night or like a Tuesday or Wednesday night or something like that. Great drama TV for the 19. I bet if we saw it now, though, it would probably look super cheesy.
Right. Well, they all do.
Back then, that show was the shit.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, obviously I've never watched either, but I know like the younger generations are even sad about this. I was talking to one of my interns at work and she's 21 and it was hysterical. It was not hysterical. I'm sorry. That was but I texted her like, did you hear old boy from Riverdale died? And she was so upset because it's like somebody's dad in Riverdale. So I just thought that was funny. He was like the heartthrob to like your generation and he's like somebody's daddy to like my intern. So
100%.
It's just funny. Anyway, rest in peace.
Sorry about that. Yes, rest in peace. Michael Rappaport, we didn't get a chance to talk about this in the live podcast. So this happened a couple weeks ago. He did take back his comments. Michael Rappaport, he's a podcaster, actor, always on TV, troll guy. He took back his comments on Meek Mill. Recently, he did say after Meek Mill's performance at the NBA All-Star Game, said that his performance was whack, it was bad, and that Meek Mill is not even a top 20 rapper in Philly. He also went on to say that he had his moment with Drake to prove himself, and Drake bodied him. So it makes Meek Mill a whack rapper. He did go back on this saying that his wife checked him. I guess his wife's black and this and that and the other. But with that being said, Michael Rappaport, yes, you are in trouble. Is Meek Mill the best rapper to come out of Philly? What are your thoughts?
I mean, okay, so who else came out of Philly? Because all I can think of is Meek, Cassidy, and Eve. Who else? Who am I missing?
So Freeway did, Beanie Siegel did, Black Thought did, the entire Roots did, Lil Uzi Vert did, just to name a few off the top of my head. There's definitely many, many more. So there are a good amount that have come out of Philly. Like, to say he's not top 20,
I can't even name 20. So
absolutely.
Right. I mean, I would say he's top. I mean,
I'm going to go with, actually rapping will probably be Beanie Siegel all time in terms of career success, plateauing, what he can still do in the future. Like, Meek Mill has to be number one. Like, when you remember, like, rappers, 10, 15 years from now, he's probably going to be that number one guy. Like, it's like Meek Mill, these people like comedy in Philly, it's Kevin Hart, Will Smith, like those types of people, like he's in that circle. So bar for bar rapping, maybe not, but overall career, you definitely got to go with Meek Mill for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't know who else it would be. Not Cassidy, so.
I mean, he could definitely rap, but is he like the best rapper to come out of Philly ever?
No, absolutely not.
Definitely not.
Absolutely not. Okay, so speaking of Will Smith, he has just been announced that he's playing Richard Williams, Serena and Venus's father in an upcoming documentary entitled King Williams, and it's met with a ton of criticism because obviously Richard Williams is very dark-skinned, Will Smith is not so much dark-skinned. Is this an issue, and who do you think should be playing Richard Williams if not Will Smith?
No, I think this is silly. I think this is a place where people are bored, trolling again, always offended about something. Like, come on, are we serious? I mean, for crying out loud, there's makeup. I mean, if they want to, they can put makeup on them to make them a little bit darker. So, you know what? Good for him. It's another big role. I mean, I heard he's going to end up playing Obama in the movie too. So shout out Will Smith. I mean, he bodies, these types of movies when he's playing, people in a biography or something that's actually very true. I think he will body the situation. Shout out to him. If it's not him, maybe someone like a Jamie Foxx, maybe someone like a Denzel Washington who's like a little darker. But at the end of the day, who cares? Let Will Smith do it. I bet he does a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, they didn't pick Will Smith because of his skin color. They picked him because he does such a great job of portraying these influential men. Like, he's done this before. He's a great actor. We've seen this happen. He's wonderful. But I think that it's so mainstream right now because I just keep seeing like the trending topic of how like darker skinned people aren't sought after, aren't trending in the media. But it's so interesting because nobody was up in arms when Denzel played Malcolm X and colors don't match. So I just think it's bullcrap. Like, Will Smith got a great opportunity, and honestly, Richard Williams got a great opportunity for Will Smith to play him because that's going to make the movie even bigger than it would have been with anybody else. So I just think it's all bullcrap. Let it go. Let Will Smith do his thing because he does a fantastic job.
100%. And finally, and quick kids, Kylie Jenner, she's been in the media a lot lately. Sounds like she could be having some relationship issues with her guy, Travis Scott. Obviously, her friend Jordan Woods in the media. It's been a crazy, crazy week for the Kardashian family. They're always in the media. So for this reason, she has been named the youngest self-made billionaire by Forbes. With her family, the Kardashians, do you think she's really should be considered, quote unquote, self-made? What's your thoughts?
Hell no. She is not a self-made billionaire. Yes, she is a billionaire. Yes, she has a business. She has a makeup mogul business, and she does make her own money, and she is a savvy businesswoman for sure. But obviously she has people, including a momager, and also her mom is famous. Chris is famous, and her dad is famous. No, she is not a self-made billionaire. You cannot be self-made with a trust fund. That is absolutely bullshit.
I feel that is facts, but you're kind of hating. You're hating a little bit.
I'm definitely not hating. I'm cool with Kylie Jenner. I'm absolutely cool with her. I don't care that she has money. I don't because she has money, but I dislike Forbes for saying she's a self-made billionaire because I think that that's a little misleading. You think self-made as being like bootstraps, like down from nothing. That's not what I would describe her at all.
Yeah, I'm kidding. I'm definitely kidding. She's definitely not self-made. I mean, she is very successful. She's done a lot of things, but she's had the Kardashian family help. And what's going to happen, all the kids that are in the family now, they're just going to grow up, get older. They're going to be in the same lineage. It's going to keep happening one by one by one. They're just going to all be billionaires and one big empire for the rest of our lives. Yay. So they're all going to be self-made, quote unquote, but really, no, they're definitely not self-made. That's family money. They're just going to bank off and benefit from. So
yeah.
Shout out to the Kardashians, though. They keep finding ways to reinvent themselves, no matter what's real, fake, what, but they keep doing it. So my clown of the week goes to Steven Spielberg. If you have not heard, he wants Netflix movies to not be considered as part of Oscar consideration. He did say, obviously, the Emmy Awards, it's like TV, things like that. He prefers that they have their lane there and Netflix movies not be considered for Oscar consideration. Why? Because essentially, if it goes right to television, essentially, without saying it, is basically a made-for-TV movie. Steven Spielberg is the highest-grossing director at the worldwide box office and the governor of the Academy Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. He's come under a lot of fire for this. Why? Basically, he's hated. Obviously, he has a lot more competition with these Netflix movies. There's been a lot of great Netflix movies in the past 2 years, and they do follow the rules. All you have to do is be in a theater in a major market for 1 week to be considered for the Oscars. These Netflix movies do that, so they do follow the rules. But basically, he is saying that these types of movies are only made for TV, and that thus such, they should only be nominated for things like the Emmys. Buddy, I think you're hating. I think there's a lot more competition. There's still a lot of work to be put into these Netflix movies. They basically are movies. It still takes a 2-hour movie or 3-hour movie to actually watch this. And why are you holding people back? I think just giving more opportunity for actors and actresses to be successful and to be recognized for these awards and to be recognized for their work. A lot of the best movies I've seen in the past year have actually been on Netflix and weren't not necessarily in movie theaters. These movies end up on DVD players and on Netflix over time anyway, as it is. So what makes a movie that is in the theater for 2 months any better than a movie that's in Netflix from day one after it's been in the movie theater for a week? I think this is blasphemous. I think he's holding people back. I'm glad that he's met with a lot of criticism, and this is not going to fly at all. So sorry, Steven Spielberg, you have made a lot of great movies, but for this, you do get the clown of the week.
I'm with you. Things are changing. Like, I feel like Netflix is just opening up the world for more people to be able to work. So 100%.
Who goes to the movie? I mean, I still go to the movies from time to time.
It's rare, though.
Most people definitely watch a Netflix movie, or if a movie comes out, I'm like, oh, I'll just wait for it to come out, on demand or whatnot before I go and see it. So times have changed, and we could get to a point which is weird to think that one day there might not be movies that go right to theater. It's going to come right on TV, Netflix, or what. Times are definitely changing.
Absolutely. Okay, so my clown of the week goes to thehill.com. It is a political website. So if you missed, Bernie Sanders was on the Breakfast Club just this past week, and Charlemagne the God, respect to him because he has some interesting people on there all the time, asks them the hard questions, love him or hate him. He does a great job and his show is fantastic. He makes it, if you ask me. And so he asked Bernie Sanders, 44 out of the 45 last presidents of this country have been white men. Do you think we need another one? And Bernie, in true Bernie fashion, fielded it by saying, I think you need this one. Fantastic answer. It had every reason for this interview to go viral, to be retweeted. What the Hill did, they retweeted it, and instead of quoting Charlemagne the God, they quoted the question and referred to him as black radio host to Sanders. Talk about absolutely degrading. Like, he's way more active on Twitter than you, for one. Like, you easily could have tagged him. You knew who he was. And, like, black radio host, like, he is so much black radio host. Like, in this context, he was radio host, but he's also author. He's a public figure. He talks about politics. He's a speaker. He does so much more. And for you to refer to him as black radio host was degrading degrading not only to him, but to his profession. And it's just absolute bullshit. I cannot believe that they said that. You guys are idiots. Whoever's doing your Twitter right now needs to be fired. And The Hill, y'all are my clown of the week.
Yeah, a lot of interns that shouldn't be interning or shouldn't control Twitter accounts these days, because these types of silly things seem to be happening more and more often.
Right.
In fact, that was a good one.
Bull
In a
crap.
bad way, but that was a good one.
Right. That was a really good bad story.
Yeah, facts. This was a good episode. I loved it. It was action-packed. We had a lot to discuss. Guess we actually got to be able to have more time in the live podcast with a shorter episode. So fun episode. What you got? We're going to get up out of here soon. What you got for us?
Chicago turned 182nd.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday. Woo-hoo. Yeah, happy birthday, Chicago. Brian's going to sing to you. Ready, go.
Nope, I'm good on that. It's been a long day, but I appreciate you all for listening. 80 episodes in. We got 80 more to go and counting. But I am up out of here. B.Hun here.
And Cait. Thank you.
See, we got it. We got it. This is episode 80, Alternative Facts Chicago. We will see you next week.
We're out.
Peace.